Press the start button. I love it. Hello everybody, this is YSGuru, and we're gonna take a look at another Japan game. Now this one's pretty interesting and caught my eye. Today we're gonna look at Ikaruga, which is a Japanese arcade shooter, which is actually available on Steam now, I think. But I'll leave it to your judgment if you want to actually purchase and try out this game, because it is pretty brutal, but it is very unique among shooters. So let's check it out here. So when you think of, shooting games, you usually have your little ship and you're flying around and you're picking up power-ups and, making your weapons actually more powerful, and bombs, special, that sort of thing. And then, of course, bullet hell. But in this particular game, they've taken an interesting twist on things in that you have this shield when you first start. And you wonder, how many bullets can this shield withstand? Well, believe it or not, you can actually withstand all of them. In fact, you want to be hit by the bullets. And you'll notice that there are two different colors. There's white, and there's a kind of crimson color. And I'm going to call it crimson just because it's kind of a reddish-black color. But basically, when your ship is white, all the white attacks from the enemies are absorbed. And when you absorb the bullets or beams or whatever from the enemy, it builds up a power bar off to the left side. And you can use this bar to do a special attack. But then the same is true if you have the white shield on. Any of the crimson type attacks can kill you instantly. So you can switch your ship to the crimson color, and then it's just the opposite. All the crimson bullets and projectiles and beams will be absorbed by your ship, but the white ones will kill you. So it's a very interesting concept in that one of the main focuses of the game, instead of collecting power-ups to power up your ship, you've got to switch your shield back and forth depending on the wave of bullets and enemies that are coming at you. And this has some interesting situations in it. It leads to kind of like a rhythm game almost in some situations where you gotta, dun, switch to white, dun, switch to crimson, dun, switch to white. And you gotta keep switching because the bullet patterns are pretty much undodgeable. And that is, by design. There are situations where it's just impossible to dodge the slew of bullets that are coming at you. And what you're supposed to do is absorb one set that is undodgeable, and then just watch out for those few stray other color ones. But in your mind, you need to keep track of which color you are, and which color you need to absorb, and which color you need to dodge. So it adds quite an interesting depth to a game such as a basic shooter. And there are no power-ups to pick up, like in a typical shooter. You just have your basic gun, and you don't want to really have to bother with that sort of thing. One of the main things you got to focus on in this game, which is really cool, is switching up your ship's shield and switching up your pattern. Another thing that's interesting is that the enemies, there are white and the sort of black crimson enemies as well, and the opposite color will die quicker to your opposite attack. So if you're on white and you're shooting white projectiles, the crimson blackish enemies will die quicker. And then of course the opposite is true. If you're the crimson black colored ship, then the white enemies will die much quicker. And then of course they'll be shooting the opposite color at you, so you got to be watching out for that. The bosses in this game are just wild. I mean, as you'd expect, you have some crazy bosses that do some, crazy, crazy alternating attacks. They'll alternate white and they'll alternate the crimson color, and you have to respond in turn so that you don't get wiped out. And of course, all of the bosses will have this duality sort of effect to them. And it just really makes this game a unique game among shooters. The graphics are amazing, the music is really great, and the bosses and the enemies are epic. One unfortunate thing, though, is that this is a arcade game, and originally it was, meant to be on the sort of long, vertical style screen that you often see in Japan arcades, and so it doesn't really go too well with widescreen. But I mean, it'll work great on, say, a cell phone or something if you're holding it vertical, and but if not, you'll just have the black on the left and the right. But that being said, being an arcade game, I mean, even though you can absorb all of one color, the game is still pretty brutal, and that's by design. And so it's pretty hard because it's meant to waste all of your coins in your pocket at the arcade. All your 100 yen coins, just so you can keep continuing and playing on. It's a pretty short game, only 5 stages, but I mean, it's really quite the most unique style of game that I've ever played that's been a shooter. Now, there are several shooters that have tried to copy this idea, this concept of switching colors, but it never quite worked out very well for those games. Ikaruga is pretty much the only one that I know of that just did this concept really well and made for an interesting shooter experience. So if you're into, serious punishment, and if you're a big fan of shooters and shooter games, then this may be one that you want to try. You might like to try it out. If super brutal bullet hell is not your thing, then I'd say not to try it out, because this one can also be pretty frustrating and difficult by design, even on easy mode. But hey, check it out. Okay, probably the best way to give you a taste of how this game works is just to showcase the first stage and the first boss. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. Yeah, as always, Japan makes some of the most unique games I've ever seen. And one of the tricky things is, remembering which color you're at, and then making sure to, follow suit and dodge the appropriate bullets, and then absorb the opposite colored bullets on purpose. See there, I got wasted as the crimson color because I forgot I was crimson instead of white. It can be easy to forget which one you are, and you gotta pay real close attention to which color you're at and which color is coming at you. So it's like just dodge all the white and you can ignore all the red. And of course the bullets will be mixed up in many situations, and there'll be beam attacks as well that are, just impossible to dodge. You just have to have an appropriate color, or else, you're toast, because it's made to be undodgeable on purpose. Yeah, it's a little unintuitive. You know, you're trying to actually absorb the color of bullets that your ship is. So here's the first boss. The stages in this game are actually quite short, sadly. But usually in the beginning, like, you'll have a ridiculously impossible to dodge, you know, white attack, for example, and then a few black attacks that are easy to dodge. Then you'll have to switch, and there'll be an impossible to dodge black attack and some easy to dodge, you know, white attack. And that's kind of how many of the bosses work in this game. But really interesting, really unique concept. The heat-seeking white beams, so you gotta make sure you're on white for that because those are impossible to dodge. And there you go, stage 1, easy peasy. Yeah, if you're really into shooters, I recommend checking this game out. I do warn that it is brutal. I know I mentioned that. But I just wanted to showcase it here today on Japan Gameplay Videos. And just take a look at it and show you guys this very unique Japanese shooter. If you're a big fan, I recommend trying it out for something that's a little different. A different formula, completely different than the usual shooter that you're used to. As always, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this Japan gameplay video. And we'll see you in the next awesome Japan game. じゃあ皆さん、お元気でね。またね。